The fortified compound had provided a semblance of safety, but as the days turned into weeks, the survivors had grown complacent. The appearance of the running and smart variants had kept them on edge, but the familiar walls and routines had created a false sense of security. One ominous night, as the survivors lay in their makeshift beds, the eerie silence was shattered by a distant moan. It was a sound they had grown all too familiar with, but this time, it held an unsettling intensity. The alert was raised, and the compound came to life with urgency. The survivors rushed to their positions, their hearts racing with fear. They could feel it in the air. This was no ordinary attack. The undead had amassed in unprecedented numbers, encircling the compound, their hollow eyes gleaming with hunger. Panic spread like wildfire as the survivors realized the gravity of the situation. The compound's defenses were strong, but the sheer volume of the undead horde threatened to overwhelm them. It was a nightmarish scenario, a desperate battle for survival against insurmountable odds. As the first wave of undead crashed against the compound's defenses, the night was filled with chaos. Gunfire erupted, and the metallic clang of weapons striking undead flesh echoed through the compound. The survivors fought with a ferocity born of desperation, their backs against the walls of their once safe haven. In the midst of the turmoil, Jack, their unwavering leader, emerged as a beacon of strength. His voice cut through the cacophony, directing the survivors' efforts as they fought to hold back the relentless horde. But in the chaos of battle, tragedy struck. A running variant, its movements swift and erratic, lunged at Jack with unnatural speed. Its jagged teeth found purchase on his arm, and he cried out in agony as it sank its rotten jaws into his flesh. The survivors fought desperately to pry the creature off him, but the damage had been done. Jack pushed them away, his face twisted in pain. "Go!" he yelled, his voice a raw plea. "Save yourselves!" Tears welled in their eyes as they watched Jack's face contort in agony. He had been bitten, and there was no saving him. It was a gut-wrenching decision, but they knew they had to leave him behind, his cries of pain haunting them as they retreated. The compound was no longer defensible, overrun by the relentless undead. The survivors fought their way through the horde, the weight of their loss heavy on their shoulders. Jack's sacrifice had bought them precious seconds, but the undead showed no signs of relenting. As they emerged from the compound, the night was still filled with danger. The city was a labyrinth of shadows and death, and their journey was far from over. Jack's memory burned in their hearts, a testament to his unwavering leadership and sacrifice. The survivors pressed on, their resolve unshaken despite the crushing weight of uncertainty. The world had become a relentless nightmare, where the dead refused to stay buried and the living fought for every breath. But amidst the darkness and despair, a glimmer of hope remained. The survivors were united by their shared determination, ready to honor Jack's sacrifice and face whatever horrors the world had yet to unleash. The city, once a bustling metropolis, had become a nightmarish labyrinth of death and decay. The survivors, their numbers reduced by tragedy, had no choice but to abandon the fortified compound that had briefly been their refuge. The relentless undead horde had claimed their sanctuary, and now they faced the daunting task of escaping the city. With heavy hearts and a determination forged in the crucible of adversity, the survivors set out into the unknown. The streets were eerily quiet, the remnants of destruction and death bearing witness to the horrors that had unfolded. The city's skyline, once a symbol of pride and achievement, loomed as a haunting reminder of the world they had lost. Their journey was treacherous, every step fraught with danger. The running and smart variants still roamed the streets, and the survivors moved cautiously, their senses alert for any sign of movement. Every corner turned, every alley crossed, held the potential for deadly ambush. The group had become a tightly knit unit, their trust in one another unwavering. Each member watched the other's backs, their shared determination pushing them forward through the abyss. They had lost friends and family, but their will to survive burned brighter than ever. As they ventured deeper into the city, they encountered pockets of survivors who had managed to endure, each group sharing stories of tragedy and triumph. The survivors offered help and supplies, their bonds strengthened by the common struggle against the undead. But danger still lurked around every corner. The survivors faced countless close calls and harrowing encounters as they navigated the treacherous terrain. The city had become a relentless battleground, where the line between life and death grew thinner with each passing day. The journey felt like an eternity, the city's dark heart seemingly endless. But as they pressed forward, the landscape began to change. The undead grew fewer in number, their relentless pursuit waning. It was as if the city itself had given up its relentless grip on the survivors. Finally, they reached the outskirts, where the city's chaos gave way to a desolate calm. The survivors paused, their breaths visible in the cold air, as they gazed back at the city that had been their crucible of survival. It was a place of unspeakable horrors, but it had also forged them into an unbreakable force. With a shared sense of purpose, the survivors turned their backs on the city and ventured into the unknown. The world outside was a harsh and unforgiving place, but they carried with them the lessons learned in the crucible of the apocalypse. They were united by their determination to survive, to honor the sacrifices of those they had lost, and to carve a future from the remnants of a shattered world. The city's skyline faded into the distance as the survivors walked forward, their steps echoing with the resolve to endure, no matter the challenges that lay ahead. The road was long and uncertain, but they were determined to face it together, their spirits unbroken, in a world forever changed.